Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Big welcome if you're new and a wonderful welcome back if you're a returning viewer. It's great to have you. My name is Anna and I am a knitter and maker living in Seattle, Washington. And today I'm going to talk to you all about what I got up to making wise in the month of April. And thank you for all the love on my last video about spring and summer knitting patterns. I was not expecting that video to get the attention that it did, so I'm really glad that you all enjoyed it. I'm happy to do more videos like that in the future because I really enjoy putting it together. I especially enjoy highlighting smaller designers and maybe less well-known patterns, so I'm glad you all really enjoyed that video, and thank you also for all the very kind and helpful comments that you left on my last monthly roundup video. I'll talk to you a little bit more about those as we get on. But yeah, so that I guess is it for the introduction. Happy May, I hope you're doing well. And yeah, let's talk about what I made. So the first finished object I'm wearing, this is the Marseille sweater from PETITEKNIT, which is very well known, and you've probably seen a million versions. I knit mine in Briggs & Little Regal, which is the lighter of their two. So there's Regal and Heritage. Regal is slightly lighter than Heritage. It's like a heavy DK, I would say. I was thinking it was a DK this whole time because it's like 273 yards per 100 grams and 250 meters per 100 grams. And that kind of pushes it more into the worsted category in my opinion. So it's kind of a good thick yarn. It's very woolly, but I would say it's woolly without being scratchy. I think a lot of woolly wools can be scary because they are kind of prickly. This is definitely woolly and you can like, I don't know, it has texture to it. Like it's not super smooth and there is some like of the, almost like the bloom, like there's a little bit of a halo. I wouldn't say really a halo, but there's just like, the yarn is not smooth. So there is some like fuzziness to it. Not really like mohair fuzzy, but there's just some fuzziness to it. But it's not prickly. I work a lot with rustic wools and this is not prickly at all. I would say if you are like interested in delving into the world of woolly wools, this is a good place to start. It's not itchy. I don't find it uncomfortable unless I'm really warm. And I have worn this a lot since I finished it, probably about 2 weeks ago. I wear it a lot at home just as like a work from home sweater because it's very comfy, very oversized, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. And just generally like pretty comfortable. So Briggs & Little Regal, I really like the yarn. I love the way that it blocked out. I like they have so many colors. It's very, very affordable. Definitely would recommend the yarn. For the pattern itself, I had some challenges. Most of them were my own doing. So I knit the size medium, which is generally the size that I knit for petite knit garments, which was already going to give me like 25 centimeters of positive ease. I didn't do a gauge swatch for this. I was like, it'll be fine. Which like it is fine, but my gauge ended up being off by 2 stitches. So I think this pattern calls for 21 stitches per 10 centimeters and my gauge turned out to be 19 stitches per 10 centimeters. So it's like even significantly larger than it's intended to be. Like there is a lot of positive ease here, like probably 40 centimeters of positive ease, which I'm not upset about. It's very comfortable. And actually when I finished it, I had my husband try it on and it fits him really well with a little bit of ease. So like we could share this sweater, but because the gauge was off, the sleeves ended up being very, very, very long. Like if this is down by my side, here, let me see if I can show you how long we're talking. So for now, I've just been rolling up the sleeves. But I think I've decided, I was just like unsure what I wanted to do. I think I've decided I'm gonna unravel back and reknit them. So as you can see, the sleeve has 4 stripes on it, just like the body. And I think I'm actually gonna, I'm probably gonna cut and graft because I'm lazy, but I'm gonna cut it at this, just before this white stripe, and then pull my cuff up to there. So it will have 3 stripes on the arms and it'll be a good length because that's kind of where if I roll back my cuff where the sleeve length is going to, and if I'm standing up with the rolled cuff, it's still like a generous sleeve. So yeah, that's my plan for now. But honestly, I've just kept it rolled up and it's been fine. So yes. Otherwise, I did end up unraveling the collar from what you saw last time. And I knitted it inside out, like many of you suggested, to get the neater ribbing, and I think it did really work quite well. And I also had started knitting, I was knitting the rib half a size larger than the pattern called for, and so going down to the recommended needle size for the ribbing, and then knitting it inside out really helped with the neatness of the ribbing. You can also see it on the body here. I knit it inside out. And it was good, and it worked great. I did the same thing for the sleeves, but I've been rolling them up, so actually the messy side is facing out. But yeah, so that's my Marseille sweater. The only other thing is that I think she has you pick up too many stitches for the sleeves. So you can see there's just like a bit of puckering here at the pickup. And I think I'm gonna just lay it, because when I laid it flat to block, obviously this was like creased. I think I just need to lay it this way on my ironing board and kind of steam that to get that pucker to lay flat. It's just noticeable enough that it bothers me. It's not very noticeable to anybody else, but I'm gonna try and address that. But yeah, the pickup ratio on the sleeves was a little challenging. So I would say if you don't pick up exactly the right amount of stitches on the neck or the sleeves, you'll be fine. I feel like this pattern is basic enough that it's kind of forgiving for those kind of things. But otherwise, I'm really happy with it. It's very cozy, very versatile. It'll be great for, it's just a great like work from home sweater, which is mostly what I've been wearing it for. I also wore it to work. But my office is pretty casual. So it was very comfy. It is very comfy. I really like it. And I honestly knit it up pretty quickly for how large of a garment this is. Like I think I measured it and it's probably 140 centimeter bust and I have a 92 centimeter bust. So it's a very, very large piece, but I knit it up in just about maybe a month, 6 weeks or so, like pretty quickly. And honestly, I was texting my friend about this and I was like, I don't like remember knitting on this at all except for the ribbing, because the ribbing is long and tedious. I just don't really enjoy knitting plain 1x1 rib. But I was like, I don't really have any recollection of knitting this. I just kind of, it knit itself basically. I think I was watching Narcos at the time. I was like really into Pedro Pascal and just watching all of his videos, anything that he's in. And so I was watching Narcos and I watched like 3 seasons of Narcos and knit the sweater. So it's really great. I like it a lot. The white yarn is just kind of like a white worsted weight yarn that I had in my stash. So nothing of note there. But other than that, yeah, it's great. It's very comfy and I enjoyed it. And that's really all I have to say about the Marseille. So yeah. Okay. One other thing I guess that I can mention to you, because people like to talk about what they're wearing. I'm wearing my Lopi socks. I got the cutest little sweat shorts at the thrift store yesterday that are super comfortable, and so I'm immediately obsessed with them. I knew I was going to be obsessed with them as soon as I found them. But my feet were cold, so I put my little socks on. I love my Lopi socks. I've talked about them quite a lot. I will link you the video that I first made when I've knit them, but I've spoken about them many times. They're so comfortable, and I made mine using the basic bed socks pattern, which I will link below for you. It's free and great. Okay, my next finished object is my MUSSELBURGH inspired hat. This is not technically a MUSSELBURGH hat because I did not buy the MUSSELBURGH pattern, but I was inspired by the MUSSELBURGH to do a similar hat construction, which, sorry, I'm fixing the brim here, which is the double folded hat. So this is just one really long tube, and then I folded it up inside itself to make a hat. And the outside color is HOLST GARN SUPERSOFT in the color Truffle, which I first saw High Fiber Knits use this and I really liked it. And then I bought the yarn at Wet Coast Wools in Vancouver, BC, which is a great little yarn store. Highly recommend. They have like every yarn. They have like all of my dream yarns in that store. So if you're ever in Vancouver, go to Wet Coast Wools. I love, love, love it. But yes, so the outside is one ball of words, HOLST, and I'll unfold it so you can see. It got me more than half of this hat, and then I just used some stash yarn to finish it up. This white is like a wool and silk blend, and then this blue is just 100% wool. So this is my giant long tube, and then you open it up. I'm sure you've seen this before. This is probably not news to anyone. But you just fold it up and tuck it inside itself. And mine is not perfect because somehow when I was knitting this giant long tube, I lost my beginning of the round. So the points of the increases and the points of the decreases do not quite match up. But it's not been like a really major problem. I still like the hat a lot and I don't care enough to go back and change that about it. So they're like the increases. You see, so this is where the the end of the increases are, and this is where the decreases start. They're like off by 10 stitches or something. I don't know how that happened. My marker fell out and I thought I put it back in the right place and I didn't put it back in the right place. But alas, it does not matter. It still fits great. Looks cute. It's a little shorter, honestly, than I think I would prefer. I would maybe prefer like 1 or 2 more centimeters in the length of the hat, but it's fine. The weather's been almost like a little too warm for hats now, but this will be great in the fall when I'm back into wearing hats a lot. So yeah, that's my little MUSSELBURGH inspired moment. I like the color a lot. The yarn is brown, but it has like blues and oranges and whites kind of speckled in. I just think it's very pretty. So yeah, that's my little hat, my probably last hat for a while. But yes, really enjoyed it. It was a good, like, easy movie theater knit because it's, after you do the increases, it's just stockinette for like 10 inches or something, 20 inches, I don't know, a long time. So yeah, there it is. It's very cute. I'm happy with it. And I would knit another one. All right, I'm gonna do my sewing. Nope. I'm gonna do my knitting whips and then I will show you a sewing finished object that I have. So yes, okay, so my first work in progress is this lovely thing. This is my, well, it doesn't look like much, but this is the beginnings, well, the yoke of my Sunday tee by PETITEKNIT, which I think I mentioned in my last several videos. And here it is. I've just split for sleeves very recently, like a couple days ago. And yeah, this is what we have so far. Like, it will obviously stretch to fit across my shoulders, but I'm really liking it. I just love this sunburst ray motif, which is just ribbing that gets progressively wider as you go along. I also really like the finish on the neckline, which you can't see. Hello. It is just stockinette that you knit at a really tight gauge and then fold over and knit down at the neck, which is lovely. It might be a little loose, but I could slide some elastic in there if I need to. And yeah, I'm knitting this in Purl SOHO linen quill in the color Rosewood Pink, which is maybe not your like standard summer yarn, but I live in the Pacific Northwest and our summers are lovely, but they're not like super warm most of the time. I would say we're like between 70 and 80 on summer days, which is not too warm for a wool blend. This is 50% wool, 35 or 35% alpaca and 15% linen, something like that. Majority wool and then linen alpaca blend. The yarn itself is really, really nice. This is my first time knitting with it. My mom got me this yarn 2 Christmases ago. So not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. She bought it for me. She bought me 2 skeins and I'm finally getting around to knitting it. And I think this is the perfect use for it. It's gorgeous. The yarn is gorgeous. The pattern's gorgeous. I'm really excited to keep going on this. Although now I'm like through the fun part and mostly to the boring part where I'm just gonna knit stockinette in the round forever. But it'll be fine. Good for the movies. There's lots of movies coming out in May that I can see. So I can knit it in there. What else do I have to say about this? I did add some short rows underneath the yoke. There are quite a few people on Ravelry who have done similar things. And I just am hesitant to not put short rows in a top. So I kind of did, this is inspired. I've done this short row technique in the Badger and Bloom sweater where you do the whole yoke and then add the short rows under the yoke. So you don't have to figure out how to do the short rows in pattern in the yoke. So I just added, I think I did maybe 8 short rows in the back. So the back is probably 2 centimeters longer than the front. You can see this is the front. Just on a couple little rows of stockinette. And that will hopefully raise the back neck a little bit and make the fit a little bit better. So yeah, I've just split for sleeves and I have this much left of my first ball, maybe 15 or 20 grams. I'm a little concerned about running out of yarn, but I think I've decided that I'm just going to use what I have and I don't want to buy more because I bought this yarn so long ago. I'm not going to be able to find, like if I order more from Purl SOHO, I'm not going to be able to get the same dye lot and I don't want the colors to not match. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll knit the body until I run out of this yarn and then I'll knit the sleeves. They're not going to end up being as long as they are in the pattern, which is kind of disappointing because I do like the length that they are in the pattern. gonna knit the 2 sleeves. I probably won't fully bind them off. It will depend on how long on the body I can get with this much yarn, which is like, that's a good, sorry about that, my camera battery died. What was I saying? So yes, I'm going to see how far I get on the body with what's left of this skein, and then probably knit the sleeves, I don't know, not super long, maybe like, I don't know, a couple centimeters. I'll see. I'm undecided. Hopefully this will be done next time and I can tell you what I chose. But yes, for my size, this calls for 250 meters of yarn, or 250 grams of yarn, and I only have 200, so obviously I was gonna have to make some concessions, but we will see. We'll just have to see how things go, because I don't wanna buy more yarn. I just wanna use up my stash. So, unless there's like a really great Purl SOHO sale, which they do run quite often. Anyway, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. I love the color. I think it's a good color for me. Maybe not, I don't know, but I like it. The yarn is so soft and squishy and very nice, and so far it's going well. So yes, that's my Sunday top by PETITEKNIT. Hopefully I can finish that in the next month and then wear it in the warm months. And then my next work in progress, I'm going to disappoint you all. I know I had talked about the magnolia in last month's video and said I wanted to have the back panel finished by the end of the month. I have not touched it, so that did not happen. I haven't had as much knitting mojo as I normally do this month, which we can also talk about later. But nevertheless, I did make some good progress on that Sunday top, and then this is another new cast on. This is my Mia sweater from CHERYL MOKHTARI. I really like this sweater. I've been thinking about it for months, and I finally cast it on, and I've also just split for sleeves. So these two are basically at the same stage in the knitting process. And this yarn is a cone that I bought secondhand, and it's wool and alpaca blend. I don't know what the ratio of wool and alpaca is, but it's wool and alpaca blend. And it's in this beautiful color that in some lights looks gray, in some lights look purple, in some lights looks blue. So I'm really enjoying it. The yarn is lovely. The pattern is very nice. I was a little concerned about the yoke depth on this. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you know I knit the spot sweater last fall and had some yoke depth issues, and this has quite a deep yoke. But I measured it against some other raglans that I have, and this yoke that I like the fit of and I'm okay with, and this yoke is less deep than those. So it should be fine. I followed the pattern. I trusted it in the designer. And this is where we at. There's also a compound raglan, so it has different increase rates along the raglan. There's some places where you do more rows, more than just one row in between the raglan increases. So it kind of has an interesting shape where it kind of slopes down at one angle and then starts sloping at a different angle. But I think that will make the fit really nice. And it's just a broken rib pattern really with wider knit sections. So yeah, the pattern, this texture carries down the sleeves and down the sides of the body, and the twisted rib at the neck, while I hated doing it, is really beautiful. I think I cast this on only 2 weeks ago. I remember I was working on the neckline on a Sunday and I was watching the Hunger Games on the TV. Maybe this can't have been last weekend. It was 2 weeks ago, I'm fairly sure. Yeah, it was definitely 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I've made good progress. This is pretty good for 2 weeks, having worked on both of these kind of concurrently. So yes, that's where we're at with this. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's kind of at a mindless point now. And I do generally have an issue where, like, if I'm just working mindlessly on the body of something, I don't find it very engaging. So it slows me down quite a bit. But actually, I don't know if you all follow Francesca from An Italian Knitter. She's a friend of mine and she's lovely and hilarious. And she was talking about me in her last video because she was talking about her half and half wrap, and I just finished my half and half wrap. And she made a very keen observation about me, is that I need to be entertained by my knit. I don't want mindless knitting. I want to be entertained by my knitting. And she's very correct in that. Like, now we're at a point where I'm not going to feel very entertained by this knitting. So I just need to like black out and knit it like I did for this sweater, because I'm excited to have it. And I think we're getting to a point now where if I don't finish it soon, I'm not gonna be able to wear it till fall. And this isn't like the most fall color, so I think I just need to hurry up and finish it so I can wear it in this weird early spring season that we're having here in Washington. We had a beautiful, glorious sunny day yesterday, and now it's cloudy and gray and a little chilly again. So if I can finish this soon, I can get a wear or two out of it before it gets too warm. So yes, I'm really enjoying the Mia sweater. The pattern is very well written. I really like CHERYL MOKHTARI's designs. They're very beautiful, and I'm really enjoying this. So yes, that's my work in progress number 2. That's all I have on my needles right now, besides Magnolia, which I'm not really working on. And I don't want to cast on anything new until I finish one of these 2. Although there is a lot of new things that I do want to cast on. So we'll touch on that for a second. If you watched my spring and summer knits video, you may have remarked that at the end, kind of towards the end, I talked about the Other Loops top. Oh no, now I don't remember what it's called. Tide Loops. It's the Tide Loops top, or the Tide Loops tee by Other Loops. And when I saw this on Instagram, it has, ever since I saw it, it's been fixated in my brain and I can't let it go. It is like so beautiful. It's this oversized kind of t-shirt, but it's inspired by the way that the sand looks on a beach underneath the waves, like when it gets those kind of ridges in it. If you've ever been to a beach, you know what I'm talking about. And she captured that inspiration in the fabric beautifully. It's just like knit and purl texture. It's charted in the pattern, but it is so gorgeous. And I was like, oh, I need to make that. And I do need to make it. And I'm very excited to cast it on. And I have the perfect yarn for it in my stash. This is the ELSEBETH LAVOLD Silky Wool. And I bought this at the end of last summer at my local yarn store, Acorn Street Shop, which is in Seattle. It's not like the closest one to me, but it's a local yarn store in Seattle. I really like it. They have great selection, but they were running a like end of summer sale. And so I bought 5 skeins of this yarn, which is kind of like a sport weight, I would say. And it's undyed. So it's this really pretty sandy color, which I think when I knit it up in that pattern will look like wet sand, and it's gonna be gorgeous. So I really want to cast that on, and I think it will be really engaging because the whole thing is charted and it has this texture all over it. So I know I'm gonna enjoy it, or maybe I'll get bored of it. It's almost like color work, but with just single color. I don't know, I think it's gonna be really fun. But I have maybe 50 grams less than I need to have. I think I have 250 grams of this and I really need 300. So again, we're doing the thing where I'm gonna be playing yarn chicken, but it also has really long sleeves. So I could just shorten the sleeves up a little bit if I need to. I'm not worried about it right now. I'm just gonna enjoy it. I think it's gonna look so gorgeous in this yarn. This yarn it's still for sale. I think this colorway just might be discontinued. I don't know. It's 45% wool, 35% silk, and 20% nylon. So again, like not a super summery yarn, but like summery for Seattle. And I'm very excited about it. I think it's gonna be great. I am doing some traveling in both June and July, actually. Going back to Texas to see family twice. In summer, it's gonna be very hot. I'm not excited about the heat. I am excited to see my family, but I'm hoping that I can have one of these 2 done so that I can take this project with me on my trip. At least one of those 2, if not both. So I can do this with me on my trip because it's like a sport fingering weight yarn on small, I think it's on 3 or 3.5 millimeter needles. Like it'll take me a while to do. So this would be a good travel project. So yes, I'm like very, very excited to cast that on. I want to make it soon. So that's probably gonna be my next cast on. Yeah, that's gonna be my next cast on. I've also been thinking a lot about casting on the Gia zipper sweater, which is from the SANDNES GARN 2202 pattern book, which I've knit a lot of patterns from. If you've watched my previous videos, I knit the Lou Genser and the cherry dress and the Guernsey Genser from that book. Just those 3? I think just those 3. But I do want, it's a zipper sweater with like a cool double knit collar and twisted rib details. And I've decided that I'm going to use Cascade 220 for that. And I'm going to use the color Lake Chelan Heather, which I'll show you actually. Hold please. Color, which is Lake Chelan Heather. Fun fact, if you didn't know, Cascade is a Seattle-based or Washington-based company, and they name a lot of their yarn colors after Washington places. So Lake Chelan is in Eastern Washington. But it's kind of this really pretty greeny, bluey heather. It has kind of like yellows and stuff in it. It's gorgeous. And I used this yarn last year to knit the Vima pullover by Sari Nordland, which you can see in my 2022 roundup if you want to look at it. And it was a lovely pattern. I just don't ever wear it. I did the cast off at the bottom too tightly, and something about it, I messed up one of the cables and didn't notice, and I just don't wear it very often. So I'm going to unravel that yarn and use it to make the Gia sweater. My only concern is that I've swatched for it. This is about as much swatch as you'll ever get out of me because I don't enjoy swatching. The pattern calls for 4mm needles, which is this top swatch. Here, can you see? Is it going to focus on the swatch? There we go. So it calls for 4mm needles, which is this fabric, and it's the gauge is too small. So I did it on 4.5, which is this fabric, which I don't mind. The gauge is also about like 1 stitch too small, and I don't want to go up any looser, I think, on that. So I'm trying to decide if I should just kind of do some pattern hacking to make it work, or if I should add a mohair to this project. I'm unsure. I don't really want to buy a mohair. Like, mohair as a second strand is expensive, and I'm trying to use up my stash. So I'm thinking about it, contemplating. I may just end up doing some pattern hacking to make this gauge work. It's only off by 1 stitch. So yeah, we'll see. I may just end up having to knit the size up or whatever. But yeah, that's another plan I'm going to do. That might be like later in the summertime. I think it would still be useful because it's cooler. We have cooler summers here in Washington, and it's a half zip. Like, it'll be a good throw on kind of thing. But I want to do this top more. So that's my plan for now. I also, one more thing about the Gia sweater is that it has like waist shaping, like significant waist tapering. I'm not going to do that. I want it to be a little more roomy and flowy. So that's my plans for now, my upcoming knitting plans. So yeah, I have no acquisitions, but I do, well, no yarn acquisitions. I do want to show you my most recent finished sewing whip make project, whatever you want to call it. Let me zip it up for you. So yes, I went to Seattle Recreative, which, if you're in the Seattle area, is a lovely shop that is like a creative reuse craft store. So they take donations and they resell people's unused or unwanted craft supplies. And they have everything there. It's amazing. If you are local to Seattle, I think they're opening a new location in Georgetown. So if you can't get up to Greenwood very often, red alert, new location coming soon. But I went there and I found this roll of this gorgeous, like lemon yellow, not really lemon, banana pudding yellow cotton canvas. And I loved the color of it. I'm really into yellow for spring. I bought a little yellow like Uniqlo bag that I'm really enjoying. I think it just helps, it's helping me feel a little happier. So I bought the canvas knowing that I wanted to make a jumpsuit out of it, because last summer, late summer, I made the CLYDE jumpsuit, which I think is an Elizabeth Suzann Studio pattern. You may recognize it. It's just kind of like a pull-on jumpsuit with these really big, deep pockets. And I wanted to make another, I made that and I don't like the fit of it. Like this, I was kind of between sizes, so I went up a size and it turned out the shaping was weird. I talk about it in my sewing video if you want to hear more about what I meant. But I did, so I don't love that jumpsuit. I now just use it for like gardening and yard work. But I wanted to make another jumpsuit with this yellow fabric, because like, what's not to love about a yellow jumpsuit? That sounds incredible to me, which is why I made one. So I went scouring for patterns and I decided to make the Peppermint Magazine jumpsuit pattern, which is a free pattern, even better. And it turned out so cute. So this is my jumpsuit. I'll put in a picture of me wearing it so you can see it full length. But it was generally a pretty simple make. I would say if you're like an adventurous beginner, if you've sewn like 1 or 2 things before, you could probably handle this just fine. It's pretty simple. And I whipped this up. I cut out the pattern and the fabric one day and then did all the sewing the next day. So it was pretty quick. And it turned out really nicely. So this was also my first time like intentionally taking length out of the pattern. So I kind of, it's this pattern. I love that this detail on the pattern is that they tell you that it's graded for someone that's 5'7". like tall, and I'm 5'4", so I knew that I was gonna have to take some length out of it. So I intentionally took length out of both the body and the legs and like made the pattern work for me, which was a good experience. It still is probably like a little longer than it needed to be, but I'm proud of myself for like taking the length out of it. I took, I think, 1 inch out of the body, or 1.5 inches out of the body, and like 3 inches out of the legs. And I do like the way it fits. It's very roomy and comfortable. I made the size 4, maybe. I'd have to go back and double check. It was one of the middle sizes. It was whatever size was for a 36-inch bust, which is my bust size. I think it's size 4. Anyway, so yeah, the pattern is written for like a thinner fabric, like a linen or a cotton, like a lighter weight cotton. So there was only one place where I found it challenging, is it has you do the burrito method when you're sewing in the facing at the body, where you like roll the fabric and then you're supposed to basically pull all of the fabric through this place. And the fabric that I used was just too heavy for that. So it didn't work. So I had to do some kind of mishmashing, and it's not perfect here, but it's functional. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with it. I wore it to work the other day. It's very cute. And I do want to put pockets in it. That's the only other thing that I haven't done, is I'm just going to put, there's side seams on this, so I just want to put side seam pockets into it that I need to go back and do. But other than that, it's perfect and I love it. I do feel like a very large child when I wear it, but in a good way. Like a child's TV presenter. I feel like this. So yes, it's fun and cozy, and it was very effective. Like, it was super easy, super fast, and I'm proud of it. I need to trim some threads, but overall it looks really good. I did, oh, I meant to say that I did modify the neck to be more of a round neck. The original pattern has like a V neck, and I just kind of rounded it off a little bit. I also didn't do the edge stitching, the under stitching on the inside of the armholes, because I didn't care that much. So yes, that's where we're at with that. But I might do, I'm trying to decide if I want to do some top stitching. Probably not. I probably won't end up doing it just because I'm lazy, but I think it's fine as it is, and it turned out so cute, and I love it. Love it, love it. And it's great for summertime. So yes, that's my finished sewing object of the month. Yeah, so that's it for the making content. I'll do a little live chat if you're interested. If you're not, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So it's been a busy month, a lot going on. We are doing a big renovation on our house. So if you're new around here, my husband and I bought a house in Seattle last summer, and it's a little old house built in 1940s, and we have a tiny little upstairs. We have 2 bedrooms and our living area, dining room, kitchen in the back. And my husband works in this front bedroom, and then I work from home in the dining room. And then we have an unfinished basement, which is about the same amount of space as we have upstairs, but just big open space. So we are finishing basement to get some more space in our house. We're gonna have 2 bedrooms and like a common area and a bathroom down there with laundry and everything. It'll be lovely when it's finished. We started construction this month, and it's just like, it's a lot. It's loud, and there's people here all the time, and I have to make a lot of decisions, and it's just, I mean, I'm very excited, I'm very grateful, but it's also like a little bit stressful, and there's a lot going on. So that's happening. In spring, I have notoriously a hard time with my mental health. Like, for many years this has been the case, so that's not helping. All that to say, like, my house is a mess all the time because everything that we used to store downstairs is upstairs, so there's stuff everywhere, and it's just kind of like chaotic. And I don't have a ton of space for like my sewing setup or my knitting. Like, there's just stuff everywhere, and it's just a lot. So I haven't been feeling very motivated to knit. And also because of my mental health, which I want to be open about because it's a thing that I experience. And I really appreciate Marlene from Marlene's Knits. If you haven't followed her, she's lovely, and she's coming to Seattle in the summer, in the late summer, for Flock Fiber Festival, and I'm really excited to meet her there. But if you haven't watched Marlene's videos, you should. She's lovely, but she talks about her a lot about her mental health as well in her videos, and I just want to be like open and real because it's a thing that people experience, and I'm happy to, people have hard times. So haven't been feeling a lot of knitting mojo. Have been feeling more motivated to sew, honestly, so I'm leaning into it. And yeah, that's how I'm doing. There's a lot going on. And it feels a little crazy, but I think once the basement is done, it will feel much better. And I will also have like my own dedicated space, both to work and like work from home, and then to have like craft space. Because we're putting 2 rooms downstairs, we'll basically my partner and I will both have space to have an office, and then we can have our guest bedroom in this extra room that will be empty upstairs, so which will be lovely. So he can have a whole room for himself, and I can have a whole room for myself that is not the room that I sleep in, and that is not the middle of my house. And I'm very excited. I'm feeling very, very grateful for that. So it'll be lovely when it's done, and I'm excited to put it all together, and I'll show it to you when it's done, and it's going to be great. But in the meantime, we have to wait, and it's going to be a while. And it's like the during process is a little unpleasant, but I'm excited for it to be done, and we can put the studio together, and it'll be great. So that'll be very fun, and I'm excited for that to happen. So yeah, other than that, not a whole lot going on. Have a couple trips coming up, going to Texas twice in the summertime, which will be hot. But it'll be good to see my family. And then my mom is going to come up to Seattle to go to Flock Fiber Festival with me, which I'm very excited about. If you didn't know, if you live in the area, again, Flock Fiber Festival is a new yarn festival that's going to happen. It's put on by La Mercerie, which is on a yarn store on Bainbridge Island. There's going to be a lot of cool vendors there, and it's going to be very exciting. And I'm going to go. So if you want to say hi to me while you're there, I'd love to meet some of you in real life. Excited to see Marlene and meet up with her, and it's going to be really great. So I'm very excited for that. There's also Fiber Fusion Northwest, which is another fiber festival that happens in the area. I think it's supposed to happen in June, but the last time I checked the website, it looked a little iffy. So if that happens, that'll be great too. They love a good yarn festival. There's nothing better than just like walking around a barn and squeezing yarn and looking at sheep. So yeah, other than that, the weather's getting better. I've started my garden this year, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, just keeping rolling. So, yeah. Oh, the other thing is that in Seattle, if you don't know, I work in transportation planning. So I'm like very about sustainable transportation. And in Seattle, May is bike month, and it's like a big deal. Everyone bikes. And so I am going to start biking to work this month, now that the weather's a little warmer. I'm gonna try biking to work for the first time. It's about like a 7-mile bike ride to my office, and I only go into my office like maybe once or 2 times a week. But I'm gonna try biking, which will be good for me to do some exercise, to be outside a little bit more, and to get to work in like a healthy and sustainable and fun way. So I will report back on bike month on how the bike commuting goes. But yeah, that was a lot of just chitter chatter, but a little peek into what's going on in my world. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to working on my projects and continuing to do more knitting and more summer knitting in the next couple of weeks. I'd love to hear what you are working on this summer and what you're like excited to cast on for summer knits. And yeah, I'd love if you're gonna go to Flock Fiber or Fiber Fusion Northwest, let me know. It'd be great to meet up with you. And I think that's it for today. That's probably enough rambling. So thank you all again for being here. Thank you for watching. I do really appreciate it. I love being able to chat with you guys and building a little community. It's very fun and very rewarding for me. So thank you all again for being here, for supporting me, and for everything that you do. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will speak to you again soon.